My sleep is important. I prioritize my sleep. We're teaching that to our children. You have to prioritize your sleep. Everything else falls apart without that sleep. I was just on the phone this week. I work with a lot of college students as well. I always ask, how are you sleeping? And they're always like, oh my gosh, it's been a stressful week. So I've been studying and I haven't been sleeping. And I said, no, 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 no. Your week is even more stressful because you're not sleeping, because now it's taking you longer to study. It's harder to focus in class. It's actually this horrendous snowball that's now just, going. No matter how much you have going on, you have to prioritize your own health and well-being.
Welcome to Radiant Mom Rising. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and in each episode, we dive into amazing stories, insights, and conversations that help moms like you chase your dreams and embrace your worth. Let's rise and shine together. Welcome back to Radiant Mom Rising. If you've ever felt lost when it comes to supporting your teen's mental health, you are not alone. Today, we're diving deep into holistic strategies that can transform the way you parent, helping your teen build resilience, confidence, and emotional strength. My guest, Keri Cooper, is a seasoned holistic therapist who has spent over 25 years working with teenagers, and she's here to share her wisdom with us. We're talking about everything from the power of sleep and nutrition to the role of boundaries and family connection in shaping a teen's mental well-being. If you want practical, real-world strategies to help your teen thrive, this episode is for you. Let's get started. Welcome back to Radiant Mom Rising. Today I have Keri Cooper with me. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
I am too. We're going to be talking about teenagers today, so that's exciting. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Keri Cooper. I'm a holistic therapist, and I own a company, Keri Cooper Holistic Therapy, in northern New Jersey. However, I'm also a little bit remote too. I have spent 25 years being a therapist working with teenagers. That is my population. That is my jam. That is what I love. So I've learned quite a lot over the 25 years. And I wrote two books about everything I've learned because I think that we miss the basics. And I know we'll probably get into all of that good stuff in this conversation, but both my books, Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Parent Needs to Know, and Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Teen Needs to Know. And that's a workbook for them based on what I teach the parents.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, let's get into your story. Tell us about your background, like your experience as a teenager yourself, and what led you down this path to work with teenagers.
Sure. My high school years were not easy. I was definitely the rebellious teen, had a lot of rebellious friends, and always felt like we need someone to talk to kind of guide us, but without judging us. And that was the big issue. Everyone kind of talked down to teens, just kind of judged you on your poor decisions. And I said, I want to be that person where a teen can really talk to me, not feel judged, and get the guidance they need and the tools they need for life. That's what started me on my journey. So I was really fortunate when I went to college. I knew I wanted to be a therapist. I knew I wanted to work with teens. So I was trained very traditionally, went through college, got my master's from UPenn, very traditional training, always worked with kids. And at some point, probably 10 years into my career, I was like, wait a second. These kids have so much therapy, so much treatment, psychiatrists, you name it, especially when I was working like residential and these bigger places. They're getting better, but not 100%. What are we missing? And I dived down the rabbit hole of how is food impacting our mood? How is a lack of sleep impact? And I just started reading study after study after study. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're missing the basics. And I actually went back to school to become a health coach just because as a therapist, I can't talk about nutrition. I can't talk about that stuff because I'm not trained in it. So I went back to become a health coach so I could talk about food and how it impacts our mood. And I actually just went back to school recently again to get certified as a certified sleep science coach
Mhm.
because sleep is so crucial. And I'm actually launching a whole nother business for coaching adults for sleep called Sleep Solutions by Keri because it's the foundation of everything in our life.
Wow.
So I've like really expanded this holistic view on mental health. And now I see such changes.
Yes, and I bet you do because this is something that people are more and more aware of is
Yes,
understanding the whole picture rather than just like, oh, you're having this one little issue. This let's put a band-aid on it. And that's what people have been doing for so long. It's kind of what society has taught us and what even people are taught in the medical field. I actually had a really great conversation with somebody just recently about, working out, exercising, like the simplicity of just how exercise alone can help your energy, help your moods, help in so many ways, as well as your food intake, as well as your being out in nature, things like that that we just take for granted. And we're just so focused on that instant gratification, that instant need for things. So I think it's amazing to have conversations like this. And so let's dive deeper into like some of the things you've learned and uncovered through digging deeper into the basics. Tell us a little bit more about that and what are some of the things you've discovered and would recommend for moms right now who are dealing with teenagers who might be rebellious and difficult.
absolutely. So you actually touched on a few things that are in my book. One is exercise,
Yes.
and the other one is being out in nature. So my first five principles are all physical, which are much easier to deal with as a parent than the mental ones sometimes. It's sleep, it's food, it's exercise, it's some form of meditation, and it's also one that people forget all the time, which is water intake. You have to be hydrated.
Yeah.
The studies that link dehydration to anger, to lack of focus. I mean, and here parents are being like, my kid has problems focusing in school. Well, when all they're doing is drinking, a Starbucks in the morning and nothing else through the day, they're dehydrated. They can't focus. Let's start with the basics and make sure that we're providing a water bottle every morning for them. Water at the dinner table. It's like those simple steps. And that's actually something that saves you money. Parents stop buying the juice and the energy
Sodas.
drinks and all that, just water.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do value that with because even me, I don't drink sodas or
Yeah.
things like that. I'm a water girl all the way. But even with that, I still have to be mindful because I can get lost in in my work stuff and forget to drink. I even actually sometimes have a reminder, Mary, drink water because I
Absolutely.
do. And with my son too, like I have a 16-year-old and yeah, thankfully he doesn't like sodas or anything like that, but I've kind of raised him like that. And milk, of course, is the main other thing he'll drink. And even that's, you know, not all the time or limited, but I mean, I know milk's really important for your body as well. So yeah, I 100% agree. I love that. And again, like you say, there's such basic things here that we are missing that make such a difference. The rise in the children with obesity and
Yes.
ADHD and autism is so there's so much more knowledge and studies coming out that's proven that it's all within the foods within our lifestyles. The main thing is our lifestyles. And here in America, it's terrible, especially it's all over the world, but it's really bad here. And so I love that you've been able to study this and share a little bit more too, as far as anything, other things that you've uncovered, just maybe a suggestion of someone who's listening, who's like, where do I get started?
Right. So parents always feel so overwhelmed. First of all, when you talk about getting started, parents have to model the behavior. You can't tell your kid to get off their phone more and they look over and you're playing Candy Crush every minute. Like you have to model it. Because listen, I have the kids in my office who are like, my mom's telling me to get off the phone, but she's playing Candy Crush every, chance she gets. Parents have to model it. Parents have to model that they are exercising, that they are getting outside, that they are hydrating and eating good food. It's not as difficult as we think to, even as our kids get older and listen, they're out with their friends and they're going to have their junk food and, their drinks and all of that. You can control what's happening in your house. That's where you have control as a parent, regardless of how old they are. If you are only providing water in your house, that is a huge step right there. And that is easy and something that anybody could do. When, your kids first get their first phones or iPads or anything like that, setting up a rule immediately that all electronics have to be out of the bedroom
Yeah,
is huge. It is going to help their sleep. It's going to help their stress level. When kids have their phones in their bedroom at night, nothing good is happening.
yep, yep, yep.
Nothing.
I can vouch for that actually, because I have always had a strict rule with my son. At a certain time, turn everything off. Everything comes up, you're done for the night, especially on a school night. Now I'm a little flexible on the weekends when to give him that little extra time. But during the school time, it's very strict, and it's like this time everything's off. You come up, you shower, you eat dinner, and then you hang out with the family for the rest of the night until bedtime. So yeah, I love it because I've seen how that has helped him. He's not as addictive as so many kids can be. And he's respectful. Like if I'm like, dude, I need you to do something. Okay, mom. He does it. But he's not feeling deprived of his time, but at the same time, he's also structured in not just having complete access whenever he wants, to be sucked into it constantly and ignore the family time. That too, because he has little siblings. We have a 3 and a 5-year-old. So I want him to know them. I want them to know him. And I love to see them playing and running around together. I think that's such an important experience, even for him, that he'll look back on and be so grateful that he was a part of.
Absolutely. And, when we talk about sleep,
Oh, yeah.
when we set that and we say no electronics in the bedroom, it's because we are prioritizing our sleep.
Yeah.
So, parents, you also need to get your electronics out of the bedroom. I actually have in my upstairs hallway like a charging port, like this huge charging port, and everyone's stuff goes on there at night, including mine. The only exception to that rule is if I have a child who's sleeping out.
Yeah.
Then I will have my phone because of emergencies. But besides that, it's the same. My sleep is important. I prioritize my sleep. We're teaching that to our children. You have to prioritize your sleep. Everything else falls apart without that sleep. I was just on the phone this week. I work with a lot of college students as well. I always ask, how are you sleeping? And they're always like, oh my gosh, it's been a stressful week. So I've been studying and I haven't been sleeping. And I said, no, 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 no. Your week is even more stressful because you're not sleeping, because now it's taking you longer to study. It's harder to focus in class. It's actually this horrendous snowball that's now just, going. No matter how much you have going on, you have to prioritize your own health and well-being. So you have to go to sleep at a reasonable time. You have to still fit in, even if it's 15 minutes of exercise a day. You have to still eat well. You have to still hydrate, because everything else will quickly fall apart if you don't have those things.
Yeah, it sure will, and it does. And that's the thing. People get so sucked into the stress and anxiety, and they don't realize that they're causing it for themselves. I mean, that's a really hard thing to grasp because you're so focused on what needs to be done and what you got to get, especially the college, high school,
Yes.
the stress they put on those kids, and it's insane. And this is why I'm the same way. I was a rebellious teen. I was on drugs actually as a teen. What sucks for me is I actually was very smart. Always made straight A's. I was such a good student. Like I was the kind of kid who actually would come home and get my homework out of the way. Like I had to do it. But unfortunately, like falling into the drug world just changed me so much. And I just stopped caring, of course, and just, you're right, not taking care of myself. And it's so rewarding to have a son who's amazing. He's in marching band. He's straight A student. He loves, like, he's in a psychology class right now and he loves it. And I'm like,
Yes.
yes, he's in a game designing. He self teaches himself things. So it's so wonderful as a mom to be able to see a difference, especially knowing where I was at his age. I love to bring this awareness to moms out there because I hear it all the time too. Oh, they're just teens.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like that's the way to have that perspective of just like excusing it because they're just teens. How do you handle getting people to really open their eyes to themselves as a parent and to their teens and what's going on with their teens really? Because right now, especially I see this confusion. Teens, we think we know it all. We think we have it all figured out and we don't. And it's like, how do you handle really working with them and even the parents and really grasping what's good for them, building that clarity and getting them really doing the things that you're recommending for them?
So normally when they show up to my office, it's because something's not going well in their life and they're not happy or they're anxious and they don't feel good. And I say, feeling good is always going to be an uphill battle if you don't have good self-care. And self-care is like a concept that these teens completely understand and they get it's important. Now, implementing it is a whole nother struggle. But when we start to implement it, and normally the easiest thing to implement, honestly, is water. Like that they'll normally go for, especially when I tell them that it's going to make their skin look better. They're like, oh, okay. Because that's what's important to them.
Yes.
Not that they're hydrating their cells, but that their skin's going to be, better. And then when they start and they're like, oh, I actually do feel better. I'm not getting as many headaches, or I'm able to focus better. It's easier to build on the good habits.
Yeah.
A lot of times parents come to me and they're like, our kid is just so moody. And I'm like, is it moodiness because of like a mental health issue, or is it moodiness because their blood sugar's all over the place all day long? We forget that. We forget when you eat sugar, it's like, wow, all this great sugar in our body. And then we crash and we're irritable and we're unfocused and we're not motivated. And then we eat more sugary food. And it's like this whole cycle that we go on all day. And there's more and more research about how blood sugar impacts your mood. But think about it for us as adults.
Yeah.
If we don't eat well one day, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And
Like crap.
unfortunately, so many of us are in a cycle of eating poorly all the time that we don't know what it feels like to feel good.
Oh, yeah.
Just like so many people are sleep deprived and they say to me, no, I'm functioning fine, because you don't know what good functioning is.
Yeah. Wow. And that's typical of us being blinded to our own things. Like we can see it on the outside of other people, but when it comes to ourselves, that's where our blind spots come on. And this is why it's so important to get the help and to be open to research and look into things yourself because, we do sabotage ourselves all the time. We get in our own way, and it's so easy to just blame it on this or blame it on that instead of taking that responsibility of really looking at ourselves and like, well, what am I doing or what am I not doing? And how
Right.
can I turn this around so we can all benefit? And that's why I'm on this mission here. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I'm having these conversations because I want to support moms. I want them to understand they're not alone. Like we're all struggling. We're all trying to figure things out. But the goal is ultimately we want to be healthier. We want to be happier. We want success and whatever that means for us. And we deserve it and it's possible. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the things that are a little uncomfortable, but ultimately, what can we really start doing to better our lives, create a better future for not just ourselves, but for our kids and our grandkids and the next generations that come down the road. I know me, I'm just so tired of all the stuff that's happening. And I just worry about what my kids are being exposed to, what they're going to grow up into. I don't want to fall into this rat race. I don't want to fall into this pilot life where I just let it pass me by.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that. We are on this like autopilot life, and we've kind of been programmed by society
Yeah.
to be busy. Like
Yes.
it's like a badge of honor. And moms especially are so burnt out. They're so done, and then they feel like nothing is working and they can't keep up and they're just drowning. I hear that a lot. I feel like I'm drowning, and they're trying so hard to do the best they can, but they're taking on too much because as a society we have all of a sudden made being busy this badge of honor. And it's like your kids need to be in 20 different activities and you need to be volunteering here and there at the school. You are allowed to say no. It is so important to say no. It is so important to protect your boundaries and to teach your children to say no
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not just be overly busy for the sake of I'm supposed to be busy.
Hmm.
To really pick and choose what do they care about. And I think that's something that's really negatively impacting us as a whole. And then people are comparing themselves to everyone else. Well, they're doing this and they're doing that. But at the end of the day, you need to do what you want to do and not just be busy. You want downtime. I always love when someone says to me, like, oh my gosh, what are you doing this weekend? And they say, like, I'm so busy. And I'm like, oh, I don't really have anything. And they're like, what? Yeah, I don't really have anything. I'm gonna hang out with my kids and I don't know, maybe like bake something with them. And we try really hard not to be overscheduled in my house. And that is
Yeah.
challenging because you're saying no to a lot of what society's telling you to say yes to. I have four children, and we live in a town where every child is not just on rec sports teams, they're also on, travel teams and all those types of things. And it's like all year round, they're playing the same sport and the injuries are through the roof and all of that. And our rule was no competition, no travel until you are at least 10. And even 10 sounds so young to me.
Yeah.
But that was like, what do you mean your kid's in kindergarten and not on travel soccer? No, no, they're not. And
That's your,
once we hit high school, my son is a lacrosse player. And when we hit high school, I said to him, like, are you going to college for lacrosse? And he was like, no, I don't want to. And I said, do you love the team you're on, like for the social aspect of it? He's like, no, it's like just fine. Then why are you doing club? Why not just play school lacrosse? And we stopped. I'm not traveling to tournaments for what?
yeah.
If it's not like something you love and it's not something that you're going to continue, why are we doing this?
Interesting. And it's funny, my husband, with our son, he just said, all I want you to do is one thing, like just one activity to give it a chance, see how it is. Because me too, I'm the same way. I'm not trying to spend my weekends traveling. I see people having their kids in dance and all these things, and they are constantly traveling, spending lots and lots of money. And hey, by all means, if you can do that and that's what your child loves, because I've also met the children a lot of times who you can tell they don't really love it. They don't really want it. They're actually now more doing it for their parents because parents sometimes project that onto their kids of like how they want to live vicariously through them. So it's like that. I love the fact that you care about like what does a kid want. Well, my husband was like, okay, just try one thing and see, how you feel. And my son picked because my husband had done marching band in the past. He just recommended it because even though he would be amazing in sports, he just doesn't really like it. No worries. And so he tried marching band. This boy fell so in love with it that he self-taught himself. It was a goal because he got put in the pit to do like pianos at first. First of all, he self-taught himself how to play piano.
Right.
I couldn't get him piano lessons, so he taught himself. Then he got so in love with snare drum that he self-taught himself how to read the music, how to play, and in junior year just got a snare drum position. So I was so proud of him. And you're right. And I know that there's a part of him that may not pursue that later on, but at the same time, I love the fact that he's gotten the most amazing friends from it. He truly enjoys it. Like, yeah, like I said, it's a difference between when your kid's being pressured to do it and then a kid just loves it, embraces it because he now wants to do anything he can that's band related. And he's teaching himself these things. That is, I think, such an important aspect to what you're saying is that we need to really hear and listen to our kids, encourage them to try things to see if it's fun, if you meet good friends from it, whatnot. But if it's something that you're not passionate about and you're just, it's,
Right.
yeah,
So it's so funny that you bring up dance. My two youngest girls are in dance, and we really waited a long time before doing the company dance and anything like that. And my one daughter, her her best friends, have been doing company dance for quite a few years.
yeah,
And she begged me and begged me and begged me to try out. And she was only 9. And I was kind of like peer pressured. All the moms were like, oh, just let her try out. And I let her try out, and she made it. But then the schedule came out, and it was Friday night classes. And I was like, she's 9. It's Friday night classes, and our family goes away a lot on weekends. And I'm not changing our entire family dynamic for
yeah.
my 9-year-old's dance. So after she made it, I told her, I made a mistake by allowing you to try out. We can't do this till you're 10. That girl did not speak to me for 3 days.
Mm,
But
that show.
as a parent, I needed to protect our entire family and be able to do things that are important to our family.
Yeah.
And the next year she was 10 and she did it. And, we're in that world, but we don't dive all the way in
Yeah.
because they're little.
Yeah.
They're still,
Yes. And you got to be careful. Like I've seen, family members who are in that world and the way they I don't know. It's a lot for those young girls. Like they're the way the makeup and the outfits and it's no judgment, but at the same time, for me personally, like I wouldn't want to expose my daughter at that or at an early age, especially to that. But I love dancing. See, for me, I self-taught myself to dance. I love to dance, so I'm happy to just get in the kitchen with my daughter and put some music on, and I'll teach her to dance, and let's have fun with it. I don't know. Like I said, there's no judgment overall because, like I said, if people want to put their kids and let them have that. Because I do know another girl who was her best friend who is meant for it. She loves it. She's got a passion for it. She's amazing at what she does. And it's wonderful because I actually see her pursuing that as a career. That is her dream. That is where she's going. So fantastic. And you know what? Sometimes just giving your kids the opportunity, like I said, just to try things,
absolutely.
you know?
About also just having boundaries. Like
Yes.
you could be in something and not all in. Like
Yeah,
that's okay.
exactly.
Like we're so all or nothing at this point that we
Right.
get that, you know? So boundaries are really important. And, again, going back to the moms, especially,
Mhm.
don't overwhelm yourself.
I know.
Because then you're not happy and then you have no patience and then you feel bad because you're snapping at your kids and
Mhm.
you, like as moms especially we beat ourselves up so much instead of really giving ourselves like some grace and being like, okay, I'm clearly taking on too much. And it's okay if I say no to some things. Like pick what's really important to you, what really means something to you, and engage in that. But you don't have to engage in everything to be a good mom. You actually need to show boundaries and the ability to say no in order to be a good mom.
Hey there, Radiant Moms. Are you feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or unsure of how to move forward with your dreams? I get it. Being a busy mom while trying to build a fulfilling life and business can feel like an impossible juggling act. But here's the truth. You don't have to sacrifice family time, lose yourself, or feel unsupported to create the life you desire. That's exactly why I'm here. I help busy moms like you confidently pursue your dreams, gain clarity, and create a life and business that light you up, all without the guilt or overwhelm. If you're ready to break free from feeling stuck and finally take those first steps toward your goals, let's chat. I'm offering a free Radiant Mom breakthrough session where we'll dive into your current challenges, uncovering what's holding you back, and map out a clear, actionable game plan for your next steps. No strings attached, just real support to help you get unstuck and start creating the life you deserve. Click the link in the show notes to schedule your call today. I can't wait to help you shine even brighter. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And this is something that I'm also hoping to help moms to feel like permission. You can say no. You don't have to do all the things. You don't have to carry the weight of everything all the time. It's exhausting. And like I said, I've seen it just so much time and time again, the pressures that are put on teens and our
Yeah.
kids to also like show up not just for themselves, but for their parents sometimes. And I think it's important to really, really make sure that your children are thriving and happy because they want to be and not because they're being forced and not because, it's that societal pressure of like, you should do all these things. You should be the awesome soccer mom. And
Right. And you don't need to do any of that. So just like we tell teens all the time, like, don't compare yourself to what everyone else is doing.
yeah,
Moms too.
I
Don't
know.
compare yourself to the mom who over volunteers and then is stressed out. Don't compare yourself. Do what's right for you and your family. And every family is different and has unique needs. And that's okay.
And, as far as working, do you work just with the teens or do you also work with the parents as
So I
well?
work with parents as well. I actually
Uh-huh.
have an entire program. It's a parent strategy program for
Mhm.
parents
Yeah.
where like a parent will come to me and say like, all right, I'm going to sit down one-on-one with you, Keri. Let's go over for 2 hours everything that's going on in my family. And these are oftentimes parents that I don't even work with their kids. It's just a parent strategy session. What's going right? What's going wrong? And how do we fix it? Because everyone says there's no roadmap on parenting. But in that 2 hour session, we actually do a roadmap for parenting and how to get everything back on track.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I love that. And you're right. It's one of those things as far as when you say roadmap. I mean, there is no straightforward, perfect way to parent per se, but there is a lot that we could be doing to
Yeah.
help. And that
And
is
parents are
worth.
so amazed when they sit
Yeah.
down with me, and it's such simple things.
Hmm. Yeah.
But again, parenting books are made, they're very general. And that
Mhm.
doesn't work for every family. And every family has their own, again, unique set of needs. So when you're able to sit down one-on-one and be like, okay, this is what's working, this is what's not working, how do we fix it? It's like, oh, well, here, try all of this. And oftentimes I'll tell those parents, like it's a one session kind of deal. Come back to me in 6 months if stuff isn't, going well, or if you need like a tweak. And lots of times I don't ever see them again. Like they get the roadmap and they're able to tweak it then on their own once they are able to see it. Sometimes we are so like in the thick of it, it's hard to see.
Yeah. It is. And when that's why we need those that outsider perspectives. We need that help and support. We need to not be afraid to ask for it. If anything, we need to seek it because we need to do whatever it takes to really help us all thrive. Like you say, being the role model alone for our kids, that's a lot of pressure. Showing up as the best version of yourself is the best thing you can do and start with. And I've always believed it starts with you. We
Yep.
want so many times we want this person to change or this to change in our lives and whatnot, but it's like it starts with you. If you're not willing to make the changes for yourself and open yourself to the awareness of what you've been doing that's not working, and then allow yourself to learn ways that you can make things better, do things differently, and then you're just going to keep having the same outcome and results over and over again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even when we talk about relationships with our kids, we can't expect them to do all the change. We have to change as well. And sometimes it's really hard, especially as parents, if we feel like we're in the right and they're in the wrong. But again, this is a relationship, it's a give and take. And once you change the way you're showing up for it, that automatically creates change in the other person because you have now changed the dynamic of the relationship.
Yes. And I also want to hit on one of the things that I see, of course, with teenagers is the self-esteem.
Mm.
Just the no self-love, not even understand that. Can you talk on that from your experience of what you worked with teens and how you've even maybe helped them to work on that?
Yes, that is such a great question. So often I have parents coming into my office being like, my child has no self-esteem, they have no self-confidence. And what I always tell parents, and at first they laugh and then they get it, is chores. And the parents are like, what? What are you talking about? If your child does not believe that they have basic life skills, that they are not able to function in a world without you, they will not have self-confidence. We, as very loving and amazing parents, have overdone for our children, and our children do not have basic skills anymore, such as being able to cook a meal, such as being able to call, high schoolers, especially being able to call and make a haircut appointment for themselves. They need these skills, they need independence. When a child feels independent, they develop self love, self esteem. As a parent, it's our job to allow them to have that independence and be there to guide instead of to do.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I love it. Yeah, since my 16-year-old was a young boy, he was learning how to clean his own bedroom, clean up
Yeah.
after himself, clean his own bathroom. And now he still does that. He does his own bathroom. He does his own laundry. He does his own bedroom. He does dishes. He mows the yard. Now we pay him for mowing the yard just to give him some incentive of earning that, but we do not give him, allowance for doing basic chores in the house. Like you live here, we provide food, we provide shelter over here. This is things you just got to do. And like I've always told him, I was like, these are teaching you how to be independent because I'm not coming to your house to do laundry. You're not coming to my house and bringing your laundry. Like this is stuff you need to learn to do for yourself because you'll be there eventually. He's so independent.
Mhm.
And I'm proud of that because I think too about the fact that he's going to be a husband one day. He's going to be with somebody. And I think about her and I know how it feels to be with somebody who's kind of a pigsty, who's lazy, who doesn't do stuff. You have to clean up after them. No, we do enough as moms, like you say, having to clean up after our kids when they're younger. No, they need to learn how to take care of their spouse. And he's going to be a good dad. I mean, he changes his brother's
Yeah.
diapers. He's watched them for us. He's got them lunch prepared. He does all those things. And I'm like, these are teaching him how to be a dad one day, how to be a husband one day, how to just take care of himself. And I've always told him this isn't a punishment. This is you just learning things that you need. And now it's like no biggie. He's always happy to help. It's just wonderful for your kids. Like I highly, highly agree with you on this and really hope that parents who are listening will really take that in if you're not already doing that to incorporate some chores for them and get them learning how to do this for themselves.
And not only is it not a punishment, like you said, but it's also I believe you can do this.
Ah, what a great perspective.
I believe you can go cook a meal without burning down my kitchen, which trust me, when they first start, it's a little scary. But
Mhm.
so imagine what a child feels like whose parent is like, hey, go, clean the bathroom or, go cook this for me or go do that for me. Opposed to a kid who feels like every time they try to do something, the parent steps in. I was like, no, 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 I'll just do it. Think of how they feel. What message are you sending your child? One is, I believe in you, you can do it. Two is, you can't do this, I will.
Mm, yeah,
So again, it's this well-meaning parenting from us being like, I want to make my kids lunch every day and do their laundry, but what are you really telling them?
yeah, yeah. And when they're young too, you can make it fun. I mean, my kids sometimes, like my little girl, she's 5 years old, but she's like, "Can I help you with laundry?" Yeah, sure, come on, and we'll throw the clothes in the wash together. She'll help, things like that. Just have fun with it. So even when I'm putting clothes away, they'll join me. She's already trying to learn how to fold, and yeah, so what? I have to fold behind her. No biggie, but let her do it. Even if it's messy, I don't care. It's
Yeah.
still cool. It's still fun. And the fact that she's even want to do it, of course, like, I just shared a picture the other day of where she's helped me cook eggs and she's having fun with it. And we play music in the kitchen. And it's just, those are moments too that, gosh, we're not going to get back. It's so fun. And it's a great way to start slowly incorporating it. I tell you right now, my 5-year-old will just randomly go clean her room and just out of nowhere, like, Mommy, come here. And I'll come there and she's like, look, it's all clean. Yes. So a lot of that can be her pushing stuff under the bed. But you know what? I still am proud of her because she clears her floor off. And I don't get me wrong, I'll sometimes call her out a little bit and be like, okay, well, hey, listen, you're amazing, but make sure we put this in the toy box, not under your bed. I don't ever make her feel bad because there was a time before I really dove down this journey of understanding how we impact our kids, how our behaviors and everything, influences them and builds their own programming and conditioning. I think that's been one of the biggest eye openers I've ever had is understanding how we program them, we condition them from a very early age. And I caught myself being like my mom, she was a very clean person growing up. And it's like no matter what I did, it felt it was never good enough. She would always go behind me and pinpoint what I didn't do right. And I caught myself doing that with my oldest one time. And I remember being like, no, I'm not doing that to him. So now I do my best to focus on all the great things that they do, even if I have to end up like kind of showing, okay, well, maybe next time do this or you should do it like that. I'm cautious of how I say it, you know?
So happy that you brought that up because a lot of the times what I hear from parents is, well, if they load my dishwasher, they do it wrong. Okay, listen, if they're starting to load your dishwasher, you're going to sit there with a smile on your face and you're going to not always critique, like you
Yeah.
were saying. You could definitely say, like, oh, hey, just so you know, when you face the dishes in, they get cleaned better. Something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
But to be like, no, that's not the way you load it. Like, and there's other times where, especially, I love laundry. I love when kids do their own laundry because I actually write a whole chapter about it in my book. It's the best chore to give your children because if they don't do it, it only impacts them. No one else is suffering. They just have dirty clothes. It also teaches them time management. It teaches them, pre-thinking, oh, I have that shirt. I want to wear it, but I have a practice today. So that means I need to do my laundry right now. And it's time management. And, parents are always like, they're going to ruin their clothes. No, they're not. And if they do, they're going to learn from it. But again, chances are they're not going to. If you teach them once how to work the washing machine and dryer and give them a little tutorial, they're bright enough to figure this out, even from a really young age. I mean, these kids are able to figure out like iPads and every technology in the world. They can
Right.
figure out your washer and dryer. Now, are they going to do it the way you do it? Maybe not. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I have a lot of parents who are like, but they're not going to separate their clothes out. Can I tell you something? I'm 47 years old. I do not separate my clothes out either. I have survived.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
doesn't have to be the way you
Yeah.
would do it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's
Let's
also giving your children some independence and some autonomy. They can do it their way.
Yeah, let them figure it out. I mean, we all are figuring it out, right? And it's like you say, even us, like when we first start a new job or even when we start learning a new skill, we have no clue what we're doing, but the more we do it, the more we get used to it, the easier it gets. And then of course, next thing you know, we're also kind of tweaking it to make it fit us, right? So same for them. They have to find their way, and that means not doing things right. Trust me, I get it with the whole dishwasher thing because there's a lot of times that he'll put things in ways that I wouldn't, but I don't critique him for it. I just might tell him, hey, next time maybe you could do this or put it here because, and I explain it to him like, oh, certain things can't be under here because it's plastics or whatever it could be. I mean, and now I don't have to say anything because he knows he kind of gets it. But even then, it's like he still does it his way. And that's okay. You know what I mean? That's a lot of pressure on and stress on you. It stresses you out as a parent when you're so overly worried about every little thing that they're doing that's not the way
It's
you
the
would do
small,
it.
it's the small stuff. And it's like, don't sweat the small stuff. I just had a parent this week in session and she was like, her room's a mess. And she's in high school. Close her door. Close her door. I don't care that her room's a mess. That's her space. That's her room. I always do tell the kids, like, listen, your brain works better with an organized space,
Mhm.
but I'm also not going to have a battle with them over it. And neither should you as a parent. Like, that's not the thing to be battling about, unless everything else in their life is completely perfect. And that's why,
There you go. Well, I mean, you're right though. That's an underlining issue though, right there. The root reason why this girl is obviously not feeling like she wants to clean a room. And this is why you start young, I think, too.
but also, there is something to be said about personality. And your kids are born with a bit of their own personality. I have some children who are just cleaner and neater than others.
Yeah.
It's who they are as human beings. Are they going to be like that their whole life? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. If you look at your friends' houses, some are dirtier than others. Doesn't mean they're not successful human beings, doesn't mean they're not happy. Maybe it's not their priority. They don't care. It doesn't impact them. So some of it is also just about personality. And if someone's a little less organized, so be it. As long as it's not negatively impacting them. It does become a problem if, in the morning they can't find anything, then it's like, maybe a little bit of organizational help.
Yes, maybe they'll think twice about it.
If it's not negatively impacting them,
Mm.
close the door. It's
Wow.
just, you don't need to battle about everything. Not everything needs to be perfect.
Yeah. Oh, and that, of course, that's a whole topic in itself, right? The
Well,
whole, yeah. I mean, that in I guess the older we get, possibly for some of us, anyways, I don't know, but it's like you get that wisdom of understanding like what really matters in life.
it's yes. So I have 4 children, and when my first 2 kids were really young before I had my second two, I felt like everything really mattered. Oh my God, they have T-ball practice. They can't miss it. They can't miss that. They can't miss this. Yes, they can. Especially like when they're in kindergarten, first grade. Yes, they can. Like, what's more important is being able to go out to a family dinner or do something special. And if that means they don't make it to, like, again, a practice, that's not going to matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't all matter.
Yeah. I love that. So tell us if somebody's listening and they're like, oh my goodness, I want to get with her and learn from her. Where can they find you?
My website's KeriCooperHolisticTherapy.com. My sleep website is sleepsolutionsbykerry.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Keri Cooper Holistic Therapy. And my books are on Amazon: Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Parent Needs to Know, and Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Teen Needs to Know.
I love it. And we'll make sure to have that in the show notes for everybody as well. So before we wrap up here, I always open the floor. Is there any final piece of advice or anything you'd want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I'm going to give my favorite piece of advice for families because I have seen so much research on it. When we say, how do I make my kids happier, my family happier, kids less likely to do drugs, increase in grades? Family dinner. Family dinner. We have busy schedules. We have gotten away from it. The more you have family dinner per week, the more you will see these wonderful things take place.
That's amazing. And I've heard that in so many areas. People have always talked about the family dinner, and it's fun to talk and get to know your kids and to teach them social skills by having conversations. So I completely understand it and agree with that. Even for people who are super busy, even if you can just make it happen, 4 times a week, whatever you can make happen, do it. It's good for the kids. It's good for you. You stay in touch with what's going on in their lives because I mean, think about it, when they go off to school, man, they are going through God knows what kind of experience. I mean, I know what I went through so many things at school my mom had no clue about. And so it's like it's so cool to have those moments. And again, thank you so much, Keri, for everything you shared with us today, for all the amazing things that you're doing for people, for teenagers, for parents out there, and for being part of the show. I really appreciate you being here with me today.
Thank you so much.
I hope this conversation was helpful and inspiring for you. Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. Your teen's mental health starts with the basics. Nutrition, sleep, hydration, and exercise all play a significant role in emotional well-being. Small changes in daily habits can have a huge impact. You are your child's biggest influence. Your teen watches how you handle stress, relationships, and self-care. When you model positive behaviors, they are more likely to adopt them. Family time is a game changer. Sitting down for regular family meals fosters connection, boosts self-esteem, and helps teens feel supported. It's a simple yet powerful tool for strengthening mental health. Boundaries are not restrictions, they are protection. Setting and enforcing boundaries teaches teens self-respect and responsibility. You're not being too strict, you're giving them a framework to navigate life with confidence. Overloaded schedules can harm more than help. Your teen doesn't need to be in every activity. Balancing extracurriculars with downtime and family moments prevents burnout and fosters a sense of stability. Independence comes through responsibility. Chores, decision-making, and accountability build self-esteem. Giving your teen responsibilities empowers them to become confident, capable adults. Don't just solve problems, teach problem solving. Instead of rushing to fix everything, guide your teen in thinking through challenges. This helps them develop resilience and emotional intelligence. You deserve support too. Parenting is tough, and you don't have to do it alone. Seeking guidance, whether through books, strategy sessions, or expert advice, is a sign of strength, not weakness. Small shifts create big results. Implementing even one or two of these strategies can help create a positive ripple effect in your home. Start where you can and give yourself grace along the way. This episode is packed with insights that will help you create a healthier, happier home for both you and your teen. Which tip are you going to try first? If you need support or for your teen, or even as a parent with a teen who may be having challenges, be sure to click the links in the show notes and contact Keri today and get the help and support you need. I truly appreciate you all tuning in with me. Please be sure to share this with any moms you know will find value from tuning in. Also, if you enjoy the show, be sure to show your support by leaving a 5-star rating or donating to the show so we can continue making incredible and inspiring content for you moms to rise and thrive in all areas of life. You are all so much appreciated. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Until next time, much love.